Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping into the truly fascinating and, let's be honest, pretty complicated relationship between Buddhism and the state in Thailand. So right off the bat, we're faced with a paradox, a real head-scratcher that sits at the very heart of this topic. The whole point of Buddhism, its ultimate goal, is to get beyond worldly suffering, to transcend it all. And yet, if you look at Thailand, monks are everywhere. They are deeply woven into the very fabric of society and even, yes, politics. So how on earth does that work? Let's get into it.
Okay, so to even begin to tackle that paradox, we have to go back to basics. What's the end game here? What is the ultimate goal of the Buddhist path?
At the end of that path is nirvana. Now, this isn't some cloudy heaven or a physical place you go to. A better way to think of it is putting out a fire. The teachings describe it as the complete extinguishing of these internal fires of greed, hatred, and delusion. You know, the very things that cause all of our suffering.
Right, so the crucial thing to grasp is that this is an internal state, a state of mind. It's about achieving this profound final peace. It's about breaking free from the endless cycle of life, death, and rebirth, which in this worldview is fundamentally tied to suffering.
All right, so if that's the destination, how do you even get there? Well, it's not just about believing in something. It's a path of doing, a path of practice. And that practice really stands on three core pillars.
It's often called the threefold training. It all starts with sila, which is basically morality, your ethical compass for how to act and speak. That creates a solid foundation for samadhi, or concentration. This is where you train the mind, learning to make it calm and focused. And that focus is what allows you to develop panna, which is real wisdom, a deep insight into how things truly are.
And there's this brilliant analogy from a respected Thai monk that just lays it out so perfectly. It shows how each step just has to build on the last. You can't grow the tree of concentration without the rich soil of morality. And you're definitely not going to get the fruit of wisdom without the tree. It all works together.
So, there you have it. In its purest form, this is a journey that looks inward. It's all about personal purification, about detaching from the messy stuff of the world. It's about moving beyond worldly concerns. But, and this is a huge but, what happens when that ideal path slams right into the real world?
And that brings us right back to our central paradox. The ideal says to detach, but the reality on the ground, so often, is to engage.
You know, the funny thing is, the monastic code itself creates this unbreakable bond. As one of our sources points out, there's a line from ancient scripture that says it all. Our livelihood depends on others. Monks rely on the everyday community for their food, their robes, their shelter. So this isn't a flaw in the system, it's a feature. It ensures the monastic community, the Sangha, is always connected to the people.
And here's where it gets really interesting in modern times. Look at the law. On the one hand, the Thai constitution protects a monk's rights as a citizen, just like anyone else. But, get this, on the other hand, that same constitution explicitly forbids them from voting. They're citizens, but they are denied the most fundamental act of political participation. It's a straight-up contradiction.
And you have to understand, this entanglement is not new. Buddhism arrived in the region over 2,000 years ago. And for more than 700 years, you've had this deep, symbiotic relationship between the monarchy, the people, and the monks. So this isn't just a modern political debate. It's a historical legacy that continues to shape the country to this day.
So if monks are so baked into the society, how does their spiritual framework actually influence the very idea of how a country should be run?
Well, that brings us to this key concept, Tamarat Tibbin. It's the Thai version of good governance, and while it might be a modern administrative idea, its roots, its DNA, dig deep into Buddhist principles. It's not just about efficiency, it's about having a moral and ethical leadership.
And you can see a direct line here. The call for morality and integrity in politics, that's a clear reflection of sila, or ethical conduct. The demand for responsibility and accountability, that connects directly to the law of karma, the idea that actions have consequences. Transparency is linked to panya, or wisdom and clarity. And finally, participation is embodied in some really interesting state-sponsored models.
A perfect example of this is the BWR model. That stands for Ban Wat Rong Rien, which means home, temple, school.
This is an actual government policy designed to use the temple as a central pillar of the community, right alongside the family and the school, to instill moral values. This is the state actively using the Sangha's influence to achieve its own social goals.
So, given this deep connection, what does the future hold? Researchers have analyzed the trends, and they've identified a number of potential paths forward for monks in public life.
And the potential roles are incredibly diverse. I mean, you have the traditional stuff, like being an advisor or a mediator in disputes. Then it gets more active, like serving as a peace ambassador or a social activist. And then there are the explicitly political roles, acting as protesters against the state, or even showing support for specific political parties. And these aren't just theories. Monks have engaged in all of these activities at various points in modern Thai history.
And so we end up right back where we started, with that fundamental tension. The path to nirvana is one of detachment, but the reality of the monk's life is one of deep social and political connection. What's the proper role for a monk when faith and power are so intertwined? To be above politics or to be right at the heart of it? There are no easy answers, but it's a question that continues to define the very soul of a nation. Thanks for joining this explainer.